You can feel that something is changing in this team now. The rumors about the draft are getting stronger and, for the first time in a long time, there's a sense that a concrete plan is starting to take shape. A plan that could change the face of this roster going forward, not just for one season, but for years to come. But first, click the like button and tell me in the comments if you think we have the great potential to win this season. Let's go Browns! The direction is finally becoming clear for the Cleveland Browns heading into the 2026 NFL Draft. And after analyzing what and reveal, there's a growing sense that this front office has already made one major decision behind the scenes. They want to move back in the first round. Two of the most respected draft analysts in the country, Mel Kiper and Dane Brugler, independently landed on the same idea, and that's not something you just ignore. Both projections point toward a trade scenario with the Dallas Cowboys, where Cleveland would send away the 6th overall pick and receive picks 12 and 20 in return, potentially even adding a future asset on top of that. When two top insiders align like this, it stops being speculation and starts looking like a real blueprint. And if you read between the lines, this isn't just about value, it's about strategy. The Browns are signaling that they don't feel locked into staying at number 6, and more importantly, they believe they can still get exactly what they want by moving down. That tells you a lot about how they see this draft class. What stands out even more is what comes next. This isn't a random trade down just to collect picks. There's a very specific plan forming here, and it starts in the trenches. Everything points to the Browns prioritizing the offensive line with their first selection, regardless of where they pick. That's not about filling a single position like left tackle. It's about taking the best offensive lineman available, period. The versatility matters more than the label. There's already internal discussion about how pieces could shift. Titus Howard has been mentioned as someone who could move to left tackle if needed, which would open the door for a natural right tackle to come in and stay in his comfort zone. That's a key difference from past decisions that didn't pan out, and it suggests the organization is trying to avoid repeating old mistakes. One name that continues to gain traction in this scenario is Spencer Fano. The buzz around him is real, and it's not just coming from outside voices. His versatility, having taken snaps across multiple positions on the line, fits exactly what this team appears to be looking for. If the Browns do move back to 12, this is the type of player that makes that decision look smart instead of risky. On the flip side, there are still alternative options being discussed, like Caden Proctor, but even there, the conversation feels different. It's less about excitement and more about hesitation. Concerns around consistency, weight management, and long-term reliability make him more of a projection than a safe bet. And for a team in Cleveland's position, that first pick needs to hit. So when you connect all the dots, the picture becomes sharper. Trade down, target a versatile offensive lineman, build flexibility across the front. That's the foundation of this draft strategy, and it's starting to feel less like a theory and more like a direction the Browns are committed to following. The big question now is how confident you feel about that approach. If this team passes on staying at 6 and commits to building through a trade down and offensive line help first, are you fully on board with that plan? Or do you think Cleveland should stay put and take the best player available at the top? And once you move past that first selection, that's where the strategy becomes even more interesting. Because the consistency between these mock drafts doesn't stop at the offensive line. It continues into the next phase of what Cleveland is trying to build, and that's adding a weapon on the outside. At pick 20, the message is loud and clear. The Browns are expected to target a wide receiver, no matter which analyst you follow. Shows that both projections agree on the position, even if they differ on the player. And that tells you this isn't coincidence, it's priority. This offense needs more production from the receiver room, especially after a season where the group combined for just 4 touchdowns in 2025, which is simply not sustainable if this team wants to compete at a higher level. Now, the debate really starts when you look at the two names being linked here. On one side, you have Casey Concepcion, a dynamic playmaker who thrives with the ball in his hands. He's the type of receiver who creates separation, gets open quickly, and can turn short passes into explosive plays. That kind of skill set would immediately help any quarterback, especially in a system that values timing and quick decisions. But there's a catch, and it's a big one: the drop rate. It's been a recurring issue, and at the NFL level, that's the kind of inconsistency that can stall drives and kill momentum. On the other side, there's Denzel Boston, and this is where the contrast becomes obvious. Boston brings size, physicality, and reliability in contested situations. Standing close to 6'4", he gives you that classic red zone presence, someone you can trust to go up and win 50-50 balls. He's not the fastest option, and he won't create the same separation as Concepcion, but his ability to box out defenders and secure the catch makes a quarterback's life easier, especially in tight windows. Highlights that difference perfectly, showing how both players fit the same need in completely different ways. So what does that tell us? It tells us that Cleveland isn't locked into a specific type of receiver, they're locked into solving a problem. Whether it's speed and separation or size and physical dominance, the goal is to leave the first round with someone who can immediately elevate the passing game. Then comes pick 24, and this is where the defensive side of the ball enters the conversation. If the earlier pattern holds, offensive line first, wide receiver second, defense becomes the natural third step. And once again, the names vary, but the intention remains consistent. Emmanuel McNeil Warren is one of the players strongly connected to Cleveland. There's already been contact, already been interest, and keeping a talent like that in Ohio only adds to the storyline. He's viewed as a high-upside safety, with the range and athleticism to contribute early, potentially even pushing for a starting role as a rookie. That kind of versatility on the back end would give the Browns another layer in coverage, something that becomes crucial against today's pass-heavy offenses. But there's also a more risky option on the table in Jody Barron-McCoy, a cornerback with top-tier talent but serious injury concerns. Missing an entire season after an ACL tear is not something teams take lightly, especially in the first round. The upside is undeniable: the instincts, the ball skills, the natural feel in coverage, but the risk factor is just as real. And this is where Cleveland's philosophy will be tested. Do they go for the safer, more reliable contributor, or do they swing for the higher ceiling despite the medical red flags? When you step back and look at the full picture, it's hard to ignore the pattern that keeps showing up. Trade down, build the offensive line, add a receiver, then reinforce the defense. It's a balanced approach, one that addresses multiple needs without forcing the team into a single direction. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway here. This front office is trying to stay flexible while still being aggressive. If this is how the board falls on draft night, the Browns could walk away with 3 immediate contributors, players who fill key gaps and reshape the roster in a meaningful way. And considering the uncertainty surrounding this team over the past seasons, that kind of clarity and strategy might be exactly what they need. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think this 3-step plan, offensive line, wide receiver, defense, is the right way for Cleveland to attack this draft? Or would you change the order and prioritize a different position earlier? And if you had to choose between those receiver options, are you taking the explosiveness of Concepcion or the physical dominance of Boston? Make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and don't forget to click on the video that's on your screen right now, because if you want all the latest Cleveland Browns news and rumors first, this is the place you're going to find it. Let's go, Browns!